Let's dive right in with Class A, which plays Tuesday, and then with this new bracket, doesn't play again until Friday.
Right. It's going to be interesting, to play first round game and then to kind of sit there and go through your practice paces and everything and come back 3 days later and play. And then if you win that one, you got to turn around and play the next day. So, all the classes are just a little bit different, but, you talk to the coaches, Jake, they're just happy to be playing. They're happy to be at state. So they're going to deal with whatever little twists and turns we have this year.
Well, let's start right at the top with that number 1 seed, Lincoln Pius the 10th. They're playing the number 8 seed, Millard North. Pius comes in undefeated, 22-0. Mustangs come in 14-9, and they're one of those teams that found out Friday, Saturday that they were in.
Talk about sweating it out, and you feel good for Millard North, but you feel bad for Papillion La Vista because those two teams tied, and it was amazing that they tied with the exact number of points. And I'm not just talking about 41, their wild card points, but it was 41.2609. So 4 decimals after the 4 spots after the decimal. And so Millard North did squeeze in there. They thought they lost their district semifinal at home to Bellevue East, and they really thought that was probably going to be their season. But when everything shook out, they were the wild card team. So, but of course, their gift for qualifying and as the wild card is to play powerful Lincoln Pius the 10th, the first game.
And Pius, I mean, most people will probably pencil them into the final, but let's not go that far ahead. What could trip them up against the Mustangs? What should they look out for here?
Well, Pius 22-0. They're the defending champs, and Millard North's task, like it's been everybody's task, trying to slow down Pius the last couple of years, is to try to figure out a way to limit their fine center, Alexis Markowski, and nobody's really been able to figure that out. They've got a really fine guard in Jillian Ashoff, who does a really nice job of not just scoring, but getting Markowski the ball. So she gets a lot of assists on that. And it's not just a 2-player show. They have other really solid players, but Millard North's really job is to try to limit Markowski. But if they can't do that, it's probably going to be Pius onto the semifinals.
And let's talk the other side of that bracket. Lincoln Southwest, the 4 seed, will play Omaha Central, the 5 seed. Southwest comes in at 19-2. Eagles come in at 22-3. Who has the edge there?
Slight edge to Southwest because they won during the regular season by 4 points at Central, but really close game, Jake. Those 4 and 5 seeds are always really close. Southwest doesn't really have any big scorers. They're just a really solid team, play good defense. And Central, we've talked about them. They're 22-3 this year. They were 9-15 last year. So they've done a really nice job of turning things around. They've got height. They've got a good young team. Anaya Webb is their leading scorer, averaging 15. And the addition of Ania Jones, the freshman guard, averaging about 12, has really meant a lot to that team this year. So slight edge to the Silverhawks, but if the Eagles come up with that first round win, it would not surprise me.
Moving on to the 2-7 game, Millard South, the Patriots 23-1, Lincoln East, the Spartans 13-9. Most people, same as that 1-8 game, give the edge to the higher seed. What could Lincoln East do to pull the upset?
Well, I was down there for their district final on Thursday when they defeated Papio South, and they really caused the Titans a lot of problems with their full court press. So the problem is trying to press Millard South is very difficult, and Millard South has a full court press of their own that they get a lot of turnovers and transition points off of. So I think Lincoln East is really going to have to, their 2 senior guards had really nice games that night. They're just going to have to do several things to try to limit that Millard South offense, which we know is on pace to set a Class A record this year for most points averaged. I think they're averaging 71 this season, Jake. So it's going to be an uphill battle for the Spartans. I really like their coach, Dennis Pritchard. He's going to try to figure something out. I think talking to him after game the other night, he thought that them against Millard South was a little better matchup than they had against if they would have been playing Pius X that first round. So we'll see what the Spartans can come up with, but edge to Millard South right there.
And then that 3-6 game, Fremont the 3, the 6 North Platte. Before we preview the matchup, that leads to one of the interesting things with this bracket to me. North Platte, the 6 seed, if they were to win, they would hang out in Lincoln until Friday?
I haven't even thought about that, Jake. I would seriously doubt whether they would hang out in Lincoln. They would probably be making that trip back across the state and come back. They don't even play until, if they would win that first round game, they wouldn't play again until 8:30 on Friday night. So I really don't think they'd be staying in Lincoln that long. So, of course, we're putting the cart before the horse there. They'd have to win first. But, that's just kind of one of those little tweaks this year that every school has had to deal with when they looked at this schedule. What are we going to do? Are we going to stay? Are we going to go? What's our lodging plans going to be? But I'm sure North Platte would go home. But getting back to the game, Fremont Tigers 21.
Let's not give any team a W here. Tigers 21-3. North Platte comes in 16-6.
Right.
Should be a nice close matchup.
Yeah, I got to give the edge to the Tigers. They've been one of the top teams all season long. I don't think they've been ranked lower than 3, really. Another high-scoring team. They're right behind Millard South in average points. I think they're right at about 70 per game. So Tigers in quest their first title, North Platte. I think they have done a nice job of getting to state the last couple of years. Don't want to sell them short what they've done, and they take a lot of flack for their schedule maybe not being as difficult as some of the other teams, but they did beat 2 Metro Conference teams in Omaha Northwest and Bellevue East to get to state. So they are there at state. The old saying goes, anything can happen at state, but boy, I'd be really surprised if Fremont doesn't advance to that semifinal, but props to North Platte for getting there again.
Yeah, and so let's talk semifinals then into final. Expectation probably Millard South Fremont. Who would you give the edge to there?
Man, I don't even want to go out on a limb on that one, Jake. That'd be a real toss-up, and I think it'd be a real entertaining game. 2 of the highest scoring teams that we've ever seen in the state. I'd probably give the slightest of edges to Millard South. They've been so close. They've made deep runs at the state tournament for the last 5 years. Fremont's been there a couple of times, but Taylor McCabe, they're a very fine player. I'd probably give the edge to the Patriots, but boy, really, really a small edge there.
And most people, as we noted earlier, are probably just going to pencil Pius straight to that final. Could you see a semifinal upset?
Well, I could see that. Southwest, like I said, they're not flashy, but they play really good defense, well coached. Central is one of those teams that you're not really sure exactly how they're going to react down there at state. It's been a few years since they've been there, but boy, when they're hitting on all cylinders, I go back to that holiday tournament game they were playing against Millard South in the final. They were ahead by 18 and they ended up losing by a couple of points. So they easily could have won that game. And, if they kind of play with we don't have anything to lose attitude, kind of loosey-goosey down there at state, I think that they might be able to give not just Southwest problems, but who knows, maybe Pius problems too. But, just judged on what we think is going to happen, it would be a surprise if Pius didn't move on to the final again, Jake.
Okay, crystal ball time. I'm going to put you on the spot. We've seen Fremont and Pius a couple times this season, and not to, put the cart before the horse and advance to Saturday all the way, from Monday. But who has the edge of these 8 teams?
I'm going back to the top seed and the top ranked Pius, Jake. Alexis Markowski, their fine center. Nobody's been able to figure her out yet. And, she's going to go on and hopefully to a really nice career at Nebraska. Her dad, Andy, of course, played at Nebraska. So edge to Pius, but like we've talked about before, there have been 5 teams that have really kind of moved off from the other ones this season. We talked about them. So Pius deserves the favorites role, but I think if any one of those other 4 teams ended up winning state, it wouldn't be a giant surprise in my mind, Jake.